Hey everyone, welcome to the Binge Factor. I'm Tracy Hazard, and I've got Lucy here with me today because we're going to introduce a podcaster that has a dog podcast. But we're excited to bring you Krista Karpowich and the Wag Out Loud podcast. It's such a great podcast. It's got health and wellness tips. I mean, true canine nutrition and ideas, and it's got fun facts about dogs. I mean, there's just so much packed into this great podcast. I wish I knew about it sooner, and I can't stand it when there's a hidden podcast I didn't know about by now, and I should have. That's the funny part about it. So Krista Karpowich owns Wag Out Loud and is the host of the weekly Wag Out Loud Pawdcast, a show focusing on canine health, nutrition, and overall well-being. After receiving her certification in canine nutrition and noticing that most dogs are getting sicker and living shorter lives, Krista became obsessed with bringing experts and dog enthusiasts together in committed community to enhance the bond with our dogs, help them live longer, and be as happy and healthy as possible. She is the host of the Wag Out Loud LTO, limited time offers, which is a live streaming shopping show for the best dog related products. And she is also a brand ambassador for Dog is Good, the lifestyle brand for dog lovers that celebrates the dog human connection. That's why I was so excited. I should have met Krista before now. So the long story made short here is that when I started my first podcast, I was having trouble, just like all of you, with getting listeners. But I also had a blog at the same time, and I was having trouble getting readers to the blog. So I went to this networking group thinking that I would find out about marketing ideas and other things. And I happened to find and go into a networking, like, I'm going to call it like speed dating. And it was a speed dating event where they came and they asked you, what do you need next? Like, who are you and what do you need? And so it was one of these things where I just was so surprised that I had never been asked that question before, right? And I just thought, this is really, really unusual. And I will go ahead and say, I need more listeners to my podcast and more readers for my blog. And the person I happened to be standing in front of was John Kurtz, one of the co-founders with his wife, Gila, founders of Dog is Good. And so we live in the same town in California. And I just happened to stand in front of him and said, I need this. And he said, I think I might have someone who can help you with that. And he took out a card and he wrote his name and his email address and the name of this company. And I was like, okay, I don't know what to do with this. Like, this is a weird thing. So I took this card and I stuck it on my desk and I looked at it for days. I kept looking at it. Finally, at the end of the week, I said, you know what? He wouldn't have given me his email address if he didn't want me to reach out. So I sent an email over to John Kurtz and I said, hey, you said you would introduce me to this company. And he did introduce me to the company. And a few months later, I had the start of what our whole entire Pawdcast business is based on, was helping me take our blogging to the next level. And so it wasn't really about podcasting at all. It was about our techniques and how we took our podcasting to turn our website into a revenue generating website. Now that company has gone completely defunct. But the techniques that we brought and pioneered with them, and the techniques that we learned about managing websites and SEO and all the different things that we learned from there, that we put into practice for our podcasters, that we teach you all in Feed Your Brand, and we teach them in the Pawdcast network. And I talk about sometimes here on the Binge Factor. Those are all things that I learned from this process. So John's kind of responsible for setting me on this path, but remember, this is the key thing to you that I want to take out, is that when you get connections like this, you make them, you make the connection, you reach out, you take the action. And that's what Krista did. So Krista happened to know one of our salespeople, Jennifer Orvis, and Jen said, you've got to interview Krista because she's got a great podcast and she knows how much I love my dog. So the next thing I knew, she's on the Binge Factor, and here we are. So taking those, reaching out and asking people about your show, asking people about things, and then making those connections, taking that action, you don't know all those nuances of relationship building and networking, what it's going to do to you. And the next thing you know, you might have the best interview ever. So I've got some really great nuggets in this interview with Krista today. You're absolutely going to love. She has some advanced monetization ideas, some alternative ideas about ways to use affiliates. And you're not going to want to miss listening about these limited time offer live streams. Such a cool idea. And she's got some tips about Clubhouse as well. So come and check out the rest of this episode. And let's go to Wag Out Loud's host, Krista Karpowich.
Wish you were one of those influencers with raving fans who binge on your every word, consume all your content, buy everything you have to sell, and demand even more? Then stay tuned while Authority Magazine columnist and BuzzFeed contributor Tracy Hazard shares strategies, tips, and tactics from top videocasters, podcasters, authors, and social influencers on creating that bingeable factor. Now, let's join Tracy as she explores how to rise above all the digital noise with the Binge Factor.
Krista, thanks so much for joining me. Wag Out Loud. I love the title and I love the graphic. So often I like to start there because there's something so grabbing about what you did and coming up with a name. So I want to start with that sort of genesis story of how you decided to start a podcast and how you decided to name it Wag Out Loud.
Oh, Tracy, thanks for having me. This is such a privilege. You've done so much for so many people, so thank you. Wag Out Loud was born out of actually my previous dog. I mean, we're talking years ago, probably 15, 16 years ago, had seizures. 3 different veterinarians couldn't figure out what's going on here. And we got a new dog. She was an adult, and the people would not sell her unless we fed the raw food diet.
Interesting.
So
you're like, I got to research that.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. So Pixel, our new dog, got raw food. So Higgins, our existing dog with the seizures, we might as well feed him raw as well. Well, guess what? He never, ever had another seizure.
Wow.
So I have always been fascinated with canine nutrition. And my current dog, Winston, we were on a walk 2 years ago, and it just hit me like out of nowhere that I must become a canine nutritionist. I need to become certified. So I had a JOB at the time, and took me about a year to get through the course, but I became certified, and again, come out of nowhere. No, you should be a podcaster.
Yeah, it's for so many people. It's like a light just came down and said, you should be a podcaster.
Tracy, we're talking about the most non-tech person in the world. That's me. So who did I think I was? But luckily, I signed up for the Power Up podcasting course of Pat Flynn, your favorite, my favorite.
My favorite, yep.
And he walks you through. I did it. And now I'm almost 2 years old, over 100 episodes, and loving it.
Oh, yeah, you have over 100 episodes, which is so exciting. And, it's interesting you do this. And I have to ask you this first, because I'm dying to, amaze my daughters. You do a fun fact about dogs and about, all kinds of things, like why you should maybe wet their paws when it's hot outside. Yes. And I thought, oh, that is so fascinating here, because my dog has so much fur because she's a Cocker Spaniel, and it's kind of hot here in California. So I was like, I'm totally doing that and amazing my children. But I was like, I just want to go through all your fun facts. So I was like, can I binge all the episodes and just do the fun facts really quickly and like write them down for my daughter? So are you sharing those on social somewhere so I could capture them that way?
I am. I'm there. It's multi-purpose. So I have a spreadsheet that I use because in this space, I am just a sponge. And as you know, with human health and nutrition, it changes every day. Same for dogs. So I have signed up for so many magazines and newsletters, industry publications. So every time I read about something fascinating, a new statistic, I put it both on the front end of my podcast episodes as well as my social media. And I'm trying to get people engaged. So whatever the topic is, I want to ask the people who follow me, not just, did you know? Because they're not going to engage. You have to really, ask them a relevant question up front and then give the statistic or the information. And it works really well.
I love that. Absolutely love that. I want to hit into our 5 things really early because you're touching on one, but I know you do a lot more. So I want to hit on that really early before we talk about some other things that you have going on in your Wag Out Loud community, because you really have a whole community building here. So let's do our 5 things. So what are some of the best ways you found to get great guests? And you have some very highly skilled guests. I mean, you had a canine dermatologist. I didn't know there was such a thing, but it was a fascinating episode. And even though I was trying to get through many of them, I had to listen to the whole thing. So, because it was something I'd never heard of before. So how do you find those great guests?
Well, in the beginning, it just started, believe it or not, with my local veterinarian. And especially in this industry, people are so open to educating others. And that's what this platform is for. It's how can we be the best advocate for our dog's health and wellness? So it was not too long after I started, maybe I was 2 to 3 months into it, that I started getting requests from the outside, either people making suggestions or the guest's PR person would reach out to me. And now 2 years later, I am booked out a year in advance.
Wow.
So I'm booked out till next March with guests, and I have not had to ask, but I will, if I read an amazing article and, oh, you have to be on the show and share this, I will reach out. But I'd say 90% of the guests have come to me.
So you have the right platform and you have the right type of show that's educating. So the right type of people are being continually attracted to it. Are you doing something to vet them though?
Oh, yes. I always do a Zoom meet and greet because I want to get to know them. What has your journey with dogs been like? What are you working on now? What do you see happening in the future? And it's happens very rarely, but some people just are not a good fit. Either they don't speak eloquently or they're way too shy. For whatever reason, the meet and greet tells me right away, is this a fit? Most of the time it is. And then we schedule the interview and off we go.
I love it. I'm glad you're vetting them though. So, because you have an obligation to your audience to make sure these are really great people that you're bringing forward. So wonderful. So how are you increasing listeners? How is that going for you?
Oh my, I think that's everybody's struggle, especially in the beginning. But just like Pat Flynn would say, you have to have the content. It doesn't matter who you know, who you are. People are not going to listen. They're not going to share. They're not going to follow unless you have the content. So from the very beginning, I knew I wanted these to be short. So my episodes are 25 to 30 minutes at the most, just enough time for you to walk your dog and listen at the same time. And sure, social media does help, but it's a constant reminder to your existing listeners. If you love this content, please share, please review, give us a review. So I think it's constant.
It's a continual thing to increase listeners, right? Yeah,
it is. And in my guest waiver, they right up front agree to share their episode with all of their followers. So that is crucial. When you send them the magic link, when it comes out, they have agreed to share it. So it's building, but I'd say content is number one. Keep at it.
I love that. Producing like a pro. Your show is very professional. It's got some great music. It's got great segues in the way that you do it. How do you keep it, up at that professional standard?
It's me being a perfectionist.
Well, hey, that's not a bad thing, right?
Well, all of this that I do is me, and me. I do not have a team at this point. So I think
so. You set those standards for yourself.
Oh, absolutely. At the time that I started this, there weren't many dog podcasts that existed, and those that did were in the training space. So I felt like I was starting something new with health and wellness. And I picked my music right from the beginning. I thought a fact, because there are so many facts about dogs, they're just fascinating, putting that in the beginning. So I've been doing it since day one. But I think I can share this. I've been approached by the Dog Podcast Network to head over to their platform. So we are in talks right now and really excited about that.
That's great. Great.
Thank you.
Band together there. I love that.
Yes.
Well, everyone listening to the show, I always give you a little tidbit or a piece that I want you to check out on our guest show. And in case of the Wag Out Loud podcast, and Krista's got her dog Winston at the end, and she has a nice little throw to Winston at the very end. And it's super cute, and it's a really nice close to an episode. And so you should check that out if you want to do something fun that's kind of a recurring thing. That one's a really fun bit. So make sure you listen to the episode all the way through when you're checking out her show. So that's a really fun, and I think a really nice professional touch at that. So we talked a little bit about engagement. Mm-hmm. And you talked about asking questions, but what are some other ways that you encourage engagement with your audience and your listener base?
Well, when I first started, as you know, you have this great show, you have content, but you're not making any money.
Yeah.
So you have to think outside the box. How can I turn this into a true revenue generator? And because I'm in this space, I thought, well, I'm already using amazing products that I know, like, and trust. I need to share that information. So it just became me reaching out to the product manufacturers that I already use. And if you go to my website, you can see all of my product partners, my affiliate relationships that are amazing, because I love these products. I want everybody to have them for themselves and or their dogs. And it's just a great partnership. So as you can tell in the beginning of each of my podcast episodes, we've got sponsors. So those are also my affiliates, and offering discount codes to try their products. And that's my affiliate code. So it's really a win-win for everyone. So I know a lot of people find me just by looking for certain products, maybe a discount code for that product.
That's a really interesting thing. So actually that's helping you be found more. That's
especially
a great tip.
Pinterest.
On Pinterest. Good. A girl who used Pinterest, after my own heart. I love that. Well, great. We're tipping over a little bit into the monetization side of things. And I really want to talk with you about this in more detail. That's part of why I wanted to do these 5 things first, because, so you do multiple levels of monetization. You have sponsors, you have affiliate relationships. Yep. We'll talk briefly about your brand ambassadorship with Dog is Good. Yay, so the dig, yeah, that's right. So the brand ambassadorship there. So the Dog is Good Direct, you have that as well. So you've got all these different pieces. But what have you found to be the most effective thing for you?
I must say it's all about relationships. It is. Life is a contact sport. And you can't be shy. You have to talk to everybody. And if you're legit and seen as an expert in your industry, people are going to do whatever they can to help you and support you. So not only is it what you mentioned, the affiliates, the sponsorships, and my Dog is Good online store, but I also, with all of these fantastic products and affiliates, I thought outside the box and I started my own LTO show, Wag Out Loud LTOs, standing for limited time offers. I just had one yesterday. It is so much fun. It's a live stream, like a QVC for dog products. And we simulcast. People jump on, watch the demo on a dog live, and they get amazing discounts for 24 hours on the product that is being presented. So that is another way to generate revenue.
I love that. I'm so
It's
glad
so
you mentioned that
fun.
because it was going to be one of my questions to ask you what this is.
Uh-huh.
Because I didn't get a chance to check one out because I missed it. But that is such an interesting way. So you're thinking of different ways at which to both bring exposure to these wonderful products that you're really proud of, that you've worked really hard to vet and choose and select the ones that you believe are the best. And that is giving you this positioning of authority in the industry, which is also helping people come to you and giving you more opportunities for different sponsorships and more affiliations. So wonderful kind of circle you've created of opportunities for monetization and for supporting your community at the end of the day.
And one more thing, Tracy, that I just am jumping on the bandwagon. You're probably going to laugh at me because I might be a little late. Clubhouse.
No, I'm not going to laugh at you at all.
Oh,
but do you know how many dogs I hear barking on Clubhouse all the time? People unmute. So I feel like there should be a whole show that's all that they do. I heard just yesterday that there was a Clubhouse where you come in and it's basically just some kind of, it's bacon crackling, like bacon sizzling. And I forgot what bacon company it is that does it. Maybe it's Hormel or something like that. Anyway, but you just literally open up into the Clubhouse room and you get to hear bacon sizzling. I want one that dogs bark. I just think that would be hilarious, right?
That
I think
would be. Oh my gosh.
That'd be so fun. You just open it up, get your dog barking fixed, and you can shut it down.
Well, the reason I think that podcasters should jump on board on Clubhouse, this is just repurposing. So I'm having previous guests on Clubhouse with me in a room. We're just going to summarize really quick. What did they talk about on a previous episode? And then we open it up to everybody else to engage, to ask questions, to comment. And that draws people. Who's this Krista person? Wag Out Loud. What's that about? Okay, I'm going to click on, oh, I love what she's doing. She's an influencer. She has a show. I'm going to check her out. And it's just so easy because you've already done the hard work when you actually produce the episode.
Oh, that's so great because I have to say, when I was listening to some of your episodes, especially I mentioned before, the one with the dermatologist, because I have a Cocker Spaniel who has ear infections, and that's what the show was actually about, was about ear infections. And so Cocker Spaniels are known to have them frequently. And so it was so ear opening.
Ear opening.
Yeah. Ear opening to me to hear that's more often dermatology related, that it's more skin condition related. And I thought, oh my gosh, I want to ask questions about breed. And and I was like, where can I ask questions? I want Krista to have a panel. Now you have a panel. That's so awesome that you have an opportunity to be able to ask questions that you burned while you were listening to the episode. That's fantastic.
Yes. Well, I'm doing my first one next week, so we'll see how it goes. But I anticipate it's going to be awesome.
Ping me and let me know, and I will jump on because I'm on Clubhouse all the time. I will jump on and help your room. So there you go. So now, all you listeners out there, this is what you need. When you start a Clubhouse room and you're going to be doing this for the first time, you want to invite people who've been on the platform for a while to help you jumpstart your room. So to come in and do that. And there's a way, if you've already friended them or connected with them, you can hit invite to let them know, and they'll get a notification on their phone that you started the room. Of course, send it to them ahead of time too, letting them know, because they want to make sure they're actually on their phone at the time that that it's happening. So, but that's a great thing to do. And then also what Krista's doing by having a panel, so she's got somebody else or more than one person who's a guest, starting in there, then they're inviting their friends, their audience, because when you pop into a room, people see that you've done that. And so that's a fantastic way to start your following on Clubhouse as well. So great job, Krista. This sounds so exciting. And I love how you're always finding new and interesting ways to connect with your community and bring more value at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Yeah. So fantastic. I want to talk a little bit more about the monetization pieces and the sponsors and the advertisements that you do. So I'm assuming you write your own advertisements. Do you think there's a trick to that? There's a process that you follow with writing them?
Well, I want to keep them as short as possible. I aim for a 30-second spot, but that doesn't always happen. So I'd say a minute.
Sometimes you tell a little story, right?
I want to be genuine and authentic. I've used this product and this is my feedback. This is why I love this so much. And to stand out in the industry, what does this product do different? Why do you need one? So then I thought, do I put it on the front end? Do I put it in the middle? I do a shout out at the end. Thank you again to our sponsor, but I decided, in case they fast forward through the regular intro, to do it right before I start the interview. Now, if I truly go over to the Dog Podcast Network, they handle all the sponsorships and they're going to put it right in the middle, which I think is a good idea.
Yeah, I'm kind of a fan of that flanking, which is why my show's segmented into 3 spots so that you have actually 2 spots, but they're kind of in the middle, but not completely. And so, yeah, structuring your show so that it can work out though in that middle piece is going to be maybe an adjustment that you'll have to make if you're moving over to a network like that. But
yes.
Yeah, to make sure it doesn't seem like you just like totally interrupted everything. Right. Wait a second. Yeah. You might want to put another little segue piece before it or something like that to help you out. Yeah. So interesting that you're doing it. And then, are you really making enough money to support your show by doing that? Or when in the sort of 105 episodes did you start to see, wow, I'm being able to support, this is what most people ask me, the production of my show is being supported, or the time and effort that I'm putting in is being supported at this point. Did you see that tipping point yet?
It was about a year. There was no monetization. The money was going out, but nothing was coming in. But I expected that. And you just have to be patient and wait. Unfortunately, I'm not patient. But
no, that's why you took took things in your own hands and started your affiliate relationships and built those. So let's talk about Dog is Good, because that's a really cool, obviously I mentioned my story at the beginning of how I know Dog is Good, which isn't how we met, by the way, but I saw it in your bio and I went, I know them. Yay! So you're a brand ambassador and you have a Dog is Good direct store, which is such an interesting idea. So you have a store that's directly on your website. They don't leave your website and go to the Dog is Good website. Is that right? They have a page.
They do. Yes. Yeah, there is. If you go to wagoutloud.com and click on Dog is Good, you will be then taken if you want to shop on my site. And the cool thing is Dog is Good has been around since 2008. And it's the emotional lifestyle brand for dog lovers. And I could tell you, it's just t-shirts and hoodies and mugs and hats. No,
they're fun and funny.
These are, this month's t-shirt is Your Dog Doesn't Know Sit. It's adorable. And
which my dog actually doesn't. So it's kind of right.
So it'd be true.
Yeah, it'd be true.
But there's funny, there's emotional. It's just celebrating the bond that you have with your dog. And the Dig Direct, which is my store, is through Dig Direct, Dog is Good's new division, has limited edition items. It has exclusive items that you won't find in Dog is Good. And anybody that has a passion for dogs can start this as a side business. And grow it to a real business. So you're really cool. Creating
a business opportunity plus selling some really cool products at the same time. So you're doing both. I love that. So that's and that's a really different and unusual way to decide that you want to be, bring in other products into your ecosystem and into the community that you're building. So fantastic ideas that you've got going on here. And I do want to mention that you have a disclaimer at the end of your show as well. When did you decide that was necessary? Did you do it from the beginning?
I did, because some people said that I should even get liability insurance. And I thought, well, that's crazy. But when you're talking about health and wellness, especially for dogs, what if I recommend, a certain treatment? Your dog should get acupuncture and somebody does it and their dog dies.
Yeah.
What happens? So I did not go the insurance route because I am an LLC and I feel protected in that way. But yes, I had to put the disclaimer not only on the outro on the show, but with
all over your website
episode. Yeah, on my page, it has to be there that for any health advice, go talk to a canine nutritionist or your veterinarian.
So I love this path. You went from I'm going to be a certified canine nutritionist to I'm going to start a podcast to I now have a business going, What's next for you?
Oh my gosh. Well, with the Dig Direct opportunity, I'm going to become a pop-up shop. They're going to offer that as well. So I can go to events and have my actual booth with
Events are coming back. Yay.
I know the world is kind of getting back to normal. I'm really excited.
Krista, I'm going to say right now, this is my suggestion for an episode that I've been dying to hear from you. So as I was writing down, I was like, I need this episode because I need this advice.
Yes.
Okay. Our dogs have been not very socialized beyond our immediate family for the last year. What am I going to do when we start getting around, more crowded dog parks and more crowded for my dog, it's a dog issue, not a people issue, because she could care less about people, but it could go the other way too. And I was thinking about this. It was like, we're about to emerge into more regular daily society that she hasn't seen. And mine's only 2. So she was really a puppy so she hasn't gone through it at all. Mm-hmm. And I've missed that socialization. What am I going to do? So that's the episode I want you to do for me, please. Suggestion. But we're about to go to events again, and you're going to have pop-up shops, and you're going to have your dogs around.
And everything's going to have a QR code, because if I'm out of a size or a color, you just put your phone on it, because everybody's used to that now with menus.
So then they can just order it online and it'll be at their home before they know it. I love that.
Order it online.
Yep. So you've got it all. So you've got the future planned here. I love that. And so you now have a Wag Out Loud business and community.
Isn't that crazy?
That's fantastic. And I think, to be honest with you, doing it in 105 episodes is astoundingly good. So you may not feel that like I know it when we're in the middle of it, especially when we're in a do it all still stage where you're doing a little bit of everything, that you may not feel as successful, but you should, Krista. I'm telling you, I interview so many podcasters here, and you have done some really incredible progress in a short period of time.
Oh, Tracy, thank you.
Yay. So
I appreciate that.
So before we end, I want to make sure that you give some advice out there to other podcasters. What do you have to say to them?
Well, again, Pat Flynn, if you are thinking about starting a podcast, there is no price tag I can put on that, the value that Pat gives, and continue to follow Pat and his shows. And Tracy, you've got so many podcasts going on. I'm doing one. It's crazy what you're doing.
I know, it's a little crazy.
But learn from others and don't be stuck in your own industry. See what others are doing in other industries, because you can say, oh, that's a great idea. I can do that for myself.
Yeah. See, this is what I keep thinking here is what you're modeling here in dog health and wellness is perfectly acceptable in a regular health and wellness model. So you've got a great model for business that other podcasters out there, especially you in the wellness world, you should be thinking about this as well. It's thinking about some of these ideas of what Krista has explored, see if they would work for you. So that's why we bring experts like Krista on the show and highlight their podcast and highlight all the good things that they are doing. Krista, before we go, I want to give you your binge factor. But first, when did you know you had binge listeners?
It's when you start hearing from raving fans that you didn't even know existed, that they say they love what you're doing, or I listened to such and such episode. You've been changing my life. I listen to you all the time. You need to hear that so that you keep going. And money aside, money is great, but just knowing that you're making a difference in that ether out there of audio in the world, it's just so fulfilling. I love it. So if anybody's thinking about starting a podcast, and you don't have to be the expert. I don't know it all. And that's why I have guests. They're the ones that share the information. So it's just creating a platform.
So you've hit a little tiny piece of the binge factor that I think that you have in your show. So it is that Krista and Wag Out Loud really has set a precedent for this curiosity of wanting to find the right health and wellness for your pet. But it's really that passion of making sure that you're diving deep enough. So it's not just a surface thing. You're diving in deep enough to understand the why, the cool tips, the things about this whole area that you're working on, which is pet wellness, dog wellness. And you're looking at that from the perspective of this just absolute passion that is coming through every single show. And when I get to your show, I don't feel like you just skim the surface. And I may have to listen, and that's where the binge factor comes in, to more than one episode to get all of the nuances and the details and the complexities of what you're talking about. Because one day it might be dermatology, next day it might be something else about allergies, and the next day it might be something else about raw food. And I start to piece all that together for my dog. And all of a sudden, I do feel like I'm on a path to wellness, and you were the guide for that.
Oh, thank you,
So
Tracy.
that's why they have to listen to all your episodes, right? That's what we want in a binge factor.
Well, that's the beauty of podcasting. It's evergreen. You can go back.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. Well, Krista, keep it up. Wag Out Loud podcast, fascinating, fabulous show. Keep up the good work, and please let us know how you're doing, and let us know how things go as you look at joining the Dog Podcast Network. We'd love to hear. We'll have to have a follow-up on that.
That would be excellent. Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate you and everything you do.
So Lucy and I just enjoyed getting to meet Krista. We had such a good time with this episode. Lucy was sitting at my feet. She was not cooperating during the interview, so we didn't get to show her off, but she was listening in, and we just had such a great time learning all of these different things from Krista. There's so much going on. She really has powered her podcast with some great things that are going to, I'm going to say, pay dividends in the future. You know, you really feel like as a podcaster, and Krista does too, you're paying your dues in the beginning. You really have to give it that long haul try. But she's 2 years in, 105 episodes in when we're recording this. And she really is at the stage where it's time, where she's created the value. She's created the content that is highly valuable, highly niched down, and just ready to go. So we wish Krista all the best as she moves forward in her show. We look forward to see what's next if she's going to join the network. And we look forward to seeing what's on the forefront and what new ideas she breaks out. So you're going to want to jump on Clubhouse, check out what she's doing over there. You're definitely going to want to go to the blog post for this episode at thebingefactor.com and check out all ways of which you can find Wag Out Loud and all the fun things that she's doing over there, so you can model Krista Karpowich too. So all of you listeners out there, thank you so much for listening to our show. We really appreciate it. And I really love that you're all starting to interact and ask us questions. That's been really exciting. We're starting to see lots of questions on Instagram and lots of questions online on Facebook. And more importantly, lots of you are popping into our Pawdcast club room, and you're joining us there and asking questions and letting us put you as the host in the hot seat, where we're doing live coaching there. And I am having so much fun getting to meet lots of new people in such diverse podcasts. And so I hope I'll be able to bring you, as Lucy's wiggling away here. Oh, Lucy, sit still. We hope we'll be able to bring you even more podcasters in all kinds of diverse areas, so you can have the broadest ideas of what it takes to be a successful podcaster today. So I'm Tracy Hazard. Thanks for listening to The Binge Factor. I'll be back next week. Talk to you soon.
You've been listening to the Binge Factor podcast. For more information on podcasting and videocasting success tips and tactics, please go to thebingefactor.com. And be sure to listen to our other show for podcasters called Feed Your Brand. If you'd like to be interviewed on this show, as well as featured in Tracy's column, please go to thebingefactor.com/guest and apply.